Joe Walton.
The following participant has entered the conference.
Bennett.
The following participant has entered the conference.
Nicholson. Bennett. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dan. I'm trying to figure out...
The following participant has entered the conference.
Pete Straub.
I'm here and I didn't hear my name called.
I think you don't hear your own name called. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it comes in just before you come in. But so far, I believe we have everyone except Marlene and Ruth. And Jean. I haven't heard Jean. Is Walt Boyer on the line? Okay, so we're waiting for Walt, Ruth, and Marlene. I have 2 minutes after the appointed hour. I don't have any regrets. Perhaps I could just take a roll call and we could get started and hope that the others join us in the next few minutes. I'll take a roll call. Judy?
Here.
Jack?
Here.
Walt? Jean? Bob?
Here.
Pete?
Yes.
Marlene? I'm sorry. I believe I have a regret for Marlene. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that. Ruth?
The following participant has entered the conference.
Marlene.
Marlene, welcome. This is Dan. I'm just taking a roll call.
Okay.
Ruth? Bennett?
Here.
Kim?
Here.
Joe Walton?
Here.
Okay, Jack Matheson? Charles Park? Okay, so far we're missing Walt and Jean and Ruth. But perhaps we do have a quorum, so perhaps we can proceed. The first thing is the minutes of the January 7th meeting. Jack Cumming has circulated those. Jack, I couldn't find a copy on the website. You usually have corrected copies on the website. So I assume there were no corrections from what was circulated originally?
Well, they are on the website, but they're on the NaCCRA.com website. I'm migrating material from NaCCRA onto NaCCRA.com. I forget whether there were changes before the board, during the board review, but there have been no changes since.
Great. Is there a motion that we approve the minutes?
So moved.
The following participant has entered the conference.
Ruth Walsh.
Welcome, Ruth. We're just approving the minutes of the last meeting. I heard Pete Straub offer a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Nick Nicholson.
Bob has seconded the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are correct, are accepted as circulated. Thank you, Francis. Now, we're expecting Chris Berg to join us at 1:15.
The following participant has left the conference.
Joe Walton.
He'll be back. I'm assuming that we'll spend perhaps about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes with Chris. So if people could keep that in mind and sort of help me wind down the discussion after that amount of time, it might be good, so that we're sure we get to the 4 items after him that we need to address. Pending Chris's arrival, and the system will announce his arrival, perhaps we could turn
The following
to
participant has entered the conference.
Joe Walton.
Welcome back, Joe. So perhaps we could turn to the review of the plans for the March annual meeting. And Pete, if you don't mind, we'll try to start that, but we may have to interrupt it and resume afterwards.
you the information that I've got, and I don't have it in front of me, but let me see if what I can recall from having done so. Take it in any haphazard order. I have not checked with the hotel to see how many have signed up, but there have been some, and the fee is as I've set out.
Participant has entered the conference.
Jack Matheson.
Welcome, Jack. This is Dan Seeger. We're just addressing item number 4. Pete, I think the one thing that I have on my mind that we need straightening out is that we had to proceed intuitively on the meal costs when we published the registration form in Lifeline. And since the Lifeline publication of $20 per meal, I believe you've discovered that Green Spring really wants $27 per meal. So
that one meal.
For that one meal. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is it better to assume? Is it better to try to negotiate Green Spring down to a standard $20 meal that, in other words, the people wouldn't have the total choice, or how should we deal with that? I'm just sort of at a loss to know how we should deal with the $7 gap.
This is Bob Nicholson. I think for our integrity, we need to stick with what we announced and ask the chef to revise the menu into a $20 budget.
I can take care of that.
Okay, so Pete, you'll negotiate with the chef, and the people who pay the $20 in connection with NaCCRA will simply get a reduced choice on meals, a choice, maybe 1 or 2 items that will fit within a $20 budget.
Yeah, but they won't know it's a reduced choice anyway, so don't worry with it.
That's right. So great, that's fine. Now the other outstanding issue is the matter of parking, as I recall, so it seems that people are going to have to park off campus and be jitneyed into the meeting place. I don't see any particular problem with that, except that the people who are coming probably have to be notified in advance. So those who register will have to be notified in advance, I think, that the parking arrangements involve the van service.
Dan, this is Bob Nicholson. I have a large agenda anxiety about the program because we have people coming from Seattle for the afternoon NaCCRA program, and we talked about Steve Magg, and we talked about somebody else. Do we have any firm commitments that we can announce to people so they have some concrete, I really want to go because, Steve is talking, I'm going to learn something, it's going to be worth my time.
Right. Okay, well, we'll definitely turn to that before we end our discussion of this item for March. But I wonder if I could just finish up. One of the things that, again, on my mind is that operating intuitively, I believe we announced March 6th as a deadline for registrations, and I believe, Pete, your chef wants to know by March 2nd.
Yes.
Do I recall that correctly? So
correct.
We also have both a dollar gap and we have a time gap. So I wonder, Pete, if you could negotiate with your chef at the same time that you're negotiating a reduced meal, if you could see if he could accommodate to a March 6th deadline for numbers.
I'll do what I can.
Okay, sorry about that, but again, when we were developing the registration form, we were operating more or less intuitively. Okay, now let's turn to Bob's concern about I think it's appropriate to turn to the program. Again, Pete, you were going to be working on resource persons. I wonder what's happened so far.
Well, I've not been able to get a hold of Stephen, but I will do that very shortly. There's another possibility that I will throw out on the table. A chap named Harry P. Kane, and he has been a member of the staff at, hold on, he retired as an executive vice president of Blue Shield and Blue Cross, and what he has talked about in the past at Windsor Mead is how all of this affects CCRC residents. It was a long discussion at Windsor Mead, and when it was concluded, they had over an hour of questions and answers, and were really very pleased with his presentation. It is a possibility. I haven't been able to get a hold of him yet, but I will explore that if you want.
Great. I think both those things sound good. I guess, well, why don't we work with Steve Magg as first choice and the Blue Cross person as second choice. Also, Bob, I don't know if this will satisfy, your need to justify, you might say, people crossing the continent to come. But the Bill of Rights item on the agenda is kind of elastic, if you know what I mean. It could be very brief. It could be very brief, or it could be very brief, or it could be more drawn out, depending upon how much time we give the assembled people to weigh in on issues that the Bill of Rights raises. So I don't think my experience from talking around as much as I've done is that people respond to the Bill of Rights issues well. They're at least very interested in it. So that's something that, in case both resource persons, in a sense, are unavailable, or we can't get a resource person, I think the Bill of Rights might use up, a substantial part of the meeting without being wasted time, if you know what I mean.
And let me respond, please, Dan. Number one,
sure.
The lead article in the next Lifeline that will be out in time for this meeting is on a CCRC that has worked on a Bill of Rights at Emerald Heights in Redmond, Washington, so there will be a heightened awareness of that. Secondly, it's time to somebody who has the moxie to lean on Steve Magg. He's said no, and we haven't had anybody from Leading Age, and we really need somebody from Leading Age, and we really need to understand where the CCR industry is now, and all this talk about changing the name of the CCRC, which he can address. Only he can do that, and I'm disappointed that we haven't put our oar in to get him by now, and maybe if Peter is tied up, maybe, Dan, you could call him directly.
Sure. Well, Pete and I, why don't you and I work that out? You've been taking the initiative here, but if it would be helpful for me to take the initiative with Steve Magg, I'd be glad to do so.
We can talk about it after the meeting.
Sure. Thank you, Pete.
There's one other possibility, too. Somebody has called my attention to an unusual situation. At least it's unusual in the sense that not many people talk about it. And that is when you're talking about your estate planning, the one area that seems to be overlooked or just avoided is all of your passwords to various Facebook and other things. And this is a minor area, but and it doesn't have much monetary value, of course, but it does open a lot of doors.